We all love a good kickabout, don't we? The roar of the crowd, the thrill of a last-minute winner, the pure magic of watching your team lift a trophy. But let's be honest, football's got a dark side that we don't always like to talk about. It's time we took a hard look at some of the uglier stuff that's been going on off the pitch. Buckle up, because this ain't gonna be pretty. Karim Benzema, a teammate's betrayal. Picture this. It's 2015 and French football's in turmoil. Two of its biggest stars are caught up in a scandal that's got everyone talking. Karim Benzema, Real Madrid's goal machine, finds himself neck-deep in a sex tape extortion plot against his national teammate Mathieu Valbuena. This wasn't just some flash-in-the-pan tabloid fodder. Oh no, this mess dragged on for years, tarnishing Benzema's reputation and keeping him out of the French national team. Fast forward to 2021, and a court in Versailles finally drops the hammer. Benzema's found guilty of being mixed up in the blackmail attempt and cops a 1-year suspended sentence, plus a fine that'd make your eyes water. The judge didn't mince words, saying Benzema showed no kindness to Valbuena and even seemed to get a kick out of pressuring his mate to pay up. Talk about a fall from grace for a bloke who was considered one of the world's best strikers. Benzema stuck to his guns, claiming innocence and appealing quicker than you can say offside. Funny thing is, while all this drama was unfolding, he kept banging in goals for Real Madrid like nothing was wrong. But let's be real, this scandal left a stain on his legacy that won't wash out anytime soon. Cristiano Ronaldo, Vegas allegations resurface. Just when you thought things couldn't get more dramatic, along comes a story that shook the footballing world to its core. In 2018, rape allegations against Cristiano Ronaldo, arguably the biggest name in the sport, came roaring back into the spotlight. Catherine Mayorga accused the Portuguese superstar of assaulting her in a Las Vegas hotel room way back in 2009. This case had more twists and turns than a mountain road. Apparently, Mayorga had reached a hush-hush settlement with Ronaldo in 2010, pocketing a cool $375,000. But years later, she wanted to tear up that agreement, claiming she wasn't in the right state of mind when she signed it due to emotional trauma. For months, you couldn't open a newspaper or scroll through social media without seeing Ronaldo's face plastered everywhere, alongside headlines about the case. CR7 denied any wrongdoing, but the allegations hung over him like a dark cloud. In 2019, US prosecutors decided not to press criminal charges, saying there wasn't enough evidence to make the case stick. But that wasn't the end of it. The civil case rumbled on, keeping everyone on tenterhooks. Then, out of nowhere, a US judge threw out Mayorga's lawsuit in 2022. The reason? Her lawyer's behavior was so dodgy, including using stolen, privileged documents, that it tainted the entire case beyond repair. While Ronaldo managed to sidestep legal consequences, the whole saga left a stain on his otherwise stellar career. It sparked heated debates about power dynamics, consent, and how society treats such serious accusations when they're leveled against beloved public figures. Gylfi Sigurdsson, a career in limbo. Picture this. It's the summer of 2021, and Everton fans are going about their business, probably griping about the team's latest disappointing season. Then boom! News breaks that an unnamed player has been nicked on suspicion of child sex offenses. The rumor mill goes into overdrive, and before long, word gets out that the player in question is none other than the Icelandic midfielder Gylfi Sigurdsson. This bombshell sent shockwaves through the football community. Sigurdsson, known for his dead ball wizardry, has been a key player for both Everton and the Iceland national team. But in the blink of an eye, his career came to a screeching halt as the club suspended him. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In a twist that shows just how complicated these cases can be, Sigurdsson was eventually found not guilty. But by then, the damage was done. His reputation was in tatters, and at 33, he found himself in career limbo, with no clear path to top-flight football. The Sigurdsson saga is a stark reminder of how quickly fortunes can change in the cutthroat world of football. One minute you're the darling of the Goodison Park faithful, the next you're struggling to find a club willing to take a chance on you. It also raises some tough questions about how clubs and fans should react when players face such serious allegations. There's no easy answer, is there? Mason Greenwood, a promising career derailed. Let's talk about Mason Greenwood for a minute. Here was a lad who had the world at his feet. You know, born with a gift for football. He was the pride of Manchester United's youth setup. Fans couldn't get enough of him. This kid could score with either foot, making him a nightmare for defenders. Everyone and their dog thought Greenwood was going to be the next big thing for England. He had that spark, that something special you just can't teach. But then, boom, everything went pear-shaped. January 2022 rolls around, and suddenly Greenwood's name is all over the papers for all the wrong reasons. Social media blows up with some really nasty stuff. Pictures, recordings, you name it. Next thing you know, the police are involved, and he's getting nicked on some heavy charges. United don't mess about. They suspended him straight away, and all those fancy sponsorship deals gone in a flash. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. Now here's where it gets tricky. The law decided not to press charges in the end, but that didn't mean everything was hunky-dory. United did their own digging, and while they reckoned Greenwood hadn't done what he was accused of, they still thought it best if he played his football somewhere else. It's a right mess, isn't it? Got everyone talking about how clubs should handle this sort of thing. And let's be honest, it makes you think about these young lads thrust into the spotlight. One minute they're normal kids, next they're millionaires with the world watching their every move. Adam Johnson, a cautionary tale. If you want a story that really drives home the dangers of footballers abusing their status, look no further than Adam Johnson. Back in 2016, the former Sunderland and England winger found himself on the wrong side of the law, convicted of sexual activity with a 15-year-old girl. Johnson, who was 28 at the time, used his position as a Premier League footballer to groom a teenage fan. He sent her flirty messages and eventually met up with her for a sexual encounter in his car. It's the kind of story that makes your skin crawl, especially when you consider the age difference and the power imbalance at play. What really got people's blood boiling was the fact that Johnson kept playing for Sunderland for months after his initial arrest. He was raking in millions in wages while this case was hanging over his head. Eventually, justice caught up with him. He got slapped with a 6-year prison sentence, though he only served half before getting released in 2019. Johnson's fall from grace was complete. Here was a bloke who'd once been a promising talent with 12 England caps to his name. And now his football career was over. Finished, kaput. His case serves as a grim reminder of what can happen when players think their fame and fortune put them above the law. Robinho, justice delayed. Remember Robinho, the Brazilian wonder boy who used to dazzle crowds with his fancy footwork and cheeky smile? Well, his story took a dark turn that left fans shaking their heads and asking some tough questions. Cast your mind back to 2013. Something terrible happened in Milan. Robinho, along with some others, was accused of a really serious crime: gang rape. It took a few years, but in 2017, an Italian court found him guilty and handed down a hefty sentence: 9 years behind bars. Now, here's where things get complicated. Robinho didn't stick around in Italy. He hightailed it back to Brazil, knowing full well that his home country doesn't ship its citizens off to face justice elsewhere. It was like he'd found a get-out-of-jail-free card, and for years, it seemed to work. Get this, in 2020, Robinho even signed with Santos, his old club in Brazil. Can you imagine a guy convicted of such a horrible crime still playing pro football? People were furious, and thankfully Santos quickly backtracked on that decision. But karma has a way of catching up, doesn't it? In 2023, a full decade after the crime, Brazilian courts finally said enough is enough. They decided Robinho would have to serve his time in Brazil. It was a rare moment when countries actually worked together on something like this. The whole mess leaves us wondering, how on earth did Robinho manage to dodge consequences for so long? And why were some clubs still willing to give him a shot, knowing what he'd done? Final thoughts: a game at a crossroads. These stories we've just dug into, they represent some of the darkest moments in modern football history. They forced fans, clubs, and the bigwigs running the show to face some uncomfortable truths about the sport we all love. As football moves forward, it's got a real challenge on its hand. How do you celebrate all the artistry and passion of the game while also creating a culture where respect and accountability are front and center? The decisions made in the coming years will play a massive part in determining whether the beautiful game can truly live up to its name. The road ahead isn't going to be easy, that's for sure. But it's a journey that football's got to make if it wants to ensure a brighter, more inclusive future for everyone who loves the sport.